Hey everyone, Ian King here, joined by my colleague Steve Fernandez. And in this week's YouTube video, we're going to talk about what happened with the Solana network this week. Incredible story here. Steve, tell us about the Solana network, exactly what it is, and then we'll talk about the big outage that happened on Tuesday.
Sure. So Solana is a proof of stake blockchain. So basically, there's a series or a network of people or robots that are validating transactions, and that's proof of stake. So in this case, Solana has really been an up and coming blockchain for the last year or so. I think it launched in 2020 at some point, but the 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 value behind Solana is that it's cheap and it's fast. So I know that you and I saw really early that Solana had some upside because of that. I mean, I want to show you this chart here that compares Solana to some of the other blockchains that you may or may not have heard of. So you can see here the whopping 59,000 transactions per second that Solana can handle compared to something like Ethereum, which is only at 17 transactions per second.
Mm-hmm.
And this chart is a little bit older. I think the transaction fee is a lot higher on Ethereum now. It shows 2% here, but you can see Solana is virtually free and fast. So I'm sure you have your idea of how this recent, crisis in the Solana blockchain, where it was down for about a day. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen just in the last couple months, there's been a lot of investors who were focused on the sort of decentralized applications on Ethereum migrating over to Solana. And you can also see that in the price of Solana. The price has gone from basically $40 per token all the way up to, I think, 220 at one point. But earlier this week, there was a new token launch on the network. And when these launches come, it's basically first come, first serve. So if you're fast and you're a flash trader or a bot, you're going to get a bigger allocation of this new token that's built on top of Solana. And now we have, Steve, in the equity markets, we have these high frequency traders, right, that are always kind of jumping in the market. And these bots essentially sent 400,000 transactions per second and overloaded the network. And because of that, they had to take the network down and basically ship some new code and then have all the validators, as you mentioned, come down off it and then turn it off for a bit and then go back on. And that took about, I think, 15 hours. The network came back around 1 a.m. in the morning. But, there was concern when the network was down. What are the ramifications of this? Because there is a whole DeFi ecosystem built in Solana, and when the prices start moving in the DeFi ecosystem, you have to worry about when it opens up and there's one asset that's down significantly against another. It's going to create margin calls, and these are algorithmic margin calls. And so it could cause sort of a financial panic, not unlike that we've seen in the regular markets when, you hear of a bank that's gone under, right? And so, there was worries that the price dropped too much of Solana or some of the other DeFi ecosystem that everything would go haywire. But, I think this is a growing pain, Steve. I mean, we've seen it before with Ethereum. These networks are new, relatively untested. They're very lucrative if you can invest in the tokens early. But I think from going from zero, where they were a couple of years ago, to putting the world's digital resources on a smart contract, it's not necessarily going to happen overnight, and there's going to be some bumps in the road. What do you think about that?
I agree 100%. With any major technology or website, Facebook, whatever, starting out, I mean, a lot of times they're not equipped to handle the rapid growth that some of these protocols in this case are going to see. I think the outage that we saw with Solana, it could end up being a good thing. And the only reason I say that is because, as Solana continues to grow, as we expect, with we covered earlier, the rapid speed and low cost, the stakes could have been higher at some point in the future if this problem never happened. But B, it really shows you that there's a lot going on in Solana, that people want to get exposure to these new token offerings, so much so that they're spamming the networks with attempts to get an allocation. So I think that's a good problem to have. Now, I didn't hear too much bad news about cascading liquidations like you mentioned, so it sounds like it could have been a lot worse. But I expect that the network will ultimately be stronger because of this, because Solana implemented something behind the scenes basically that will kind of mark these robots when they're spamming the network and like proactively block them. So, knowing that the network got up to about 400,000 transactions per second at the point where it was essentially down, I mean, it kind of goes to show you that this network is the real deal.
Yeah. And, to your point, I want to bring up a quote by the famous Donald Rumsfeld, who once said, there are things we know, there are things we don't know, and there's things we don't know, we don't know. What happened with Solana on Tuesday is basically something that we don't know, It was an unknown unknown. And I think when you start eliminating those things from an investment environment, it gives investors more confidence in the future, right? So, you can think of an unknown unknown being like a financial crisis or like a bank liquidation. It sort of comes out of left field. No one saw it coming. The market sell off. This is what happened with Solana Network. And it's not much different than what happened with Ethereum in 2016. Ethereum tried to do what's called a decentralized autonomous organization. Use that at a cocktail party, where basically they were building a community on top of Ethereum of certain investors that were participating in this investment. And there was a big hack. And there was $50 million of value stolen from this decentralized autonomous organization, which now is worth about 15 billion. But, at the time, the Ethereum community had a choice to either believe in the immutability of the network and the fact that when something happens, it's final, right? There's a finality of blockchains, which make them so effective. You can't reverse anything, or to do something for the greater good, which was to fork the chain. And they chose to fork the chain. And that's why, you have Ethereum Classic, which is actually the original Ethereum chain. And then you also have Ethereum, which everyone trades. Ethereum Classic, by the way, I know a lot of people write in about it. It's basically a dead chain. There's nothing going on it. But the price seems to go up when the rest of the cryptocurrency market rallies. It's usually a sign that, we're reaching the end of a rally when things like Ethereum Classic and what's the other, Bitcoin Cash start rallying. It's sort of the end of the rally. So, I think, like you said, this is a good thing for the Solana network. It's a good thing for all layer ones, meaning these are the smart contract protocols that are going to be necessary to basically put the world's data and digital resources on blockchains. And it eliminates this unknown unknown. So, you can check the price of Solana right now. I think it hit a high of 220. In the last week, it's pulled back to about the 155 level. Of course, I'm still bullish on the protocol. I think it's going to be one of these big layer ones like Ethereum that tackles a lot of the big decentralization problems in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you described resilience there, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers, if they follow crypto at all, they're aware of, how Ethereum's price has really rallied since it, like you described, that hack. I think the upside here is that Solana wasn't hacked, right? It was an outage based on activity alone. It's not like they had a bug in their code that exposed, crypto investors to potential loss. It was really just, wow, this grew faster than we expected and we weren't prepared. So, I think that Solana will probably be a top 2 blockchain. And if crypto didn't favor legacy blockchains like Bitcoin and Ethereum, I could see it being number 1 at some point. Mm-hmm. So, I think it's interesting that this happened, and we should be keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, when you've got, more people trying to get in the stadium than you can fill the seats, it's a good problem for a blockchain to have. So let's leave it there. If you like what we have to say in our videos, please go ahead and smash that like button. Of course, you've subscribed to it. If not, tell your friends to subscribe to our video. Any comments, please hit us up below. If there's anything you want us to discuss in future webinars, we're happy to talk about them. Except maybe we won't talk about Cardano, right, Steve? That's one thing we won't talk about, right?
I don't think so.
I'm just kidding with the Cardano folks. So that's it for myself and Steve Fernandez. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great weekend, everyone.